Welcome to Jen Cares, powered by Chozen Live Podcast. Here we engage in tough talks and meaningful conversations. Each week, we feature a guest that will help us stay in the know. We're a podcast that brings the community to you every Monday at 8 p.m. on Facebook and YouTube. If you're watching on Facebook, be sure to like and follow our page. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to subscribe so that you never miss a show. Now, here's your host, Jen Cares.
Good evening and welcome to Jen Cares, powered by Chozen Counselors. I am your host, Jen Cares, the founder of Chozen Counselors, a nonprofit organization that seeks to inspire, motivate, empower, and strengthen individuals and families. As always, I want to say thank you to each and every one of you for tuning in, for liking, for commenting, and coming back again. I do appreciate each and every one of you. If you're watching on Facebook, be sure to like our page so that you know every time we go live, which is every Monday, just about every Monday at 8 p.m. And if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to subscribe so you can also see us over there. Again, I thank each and every one of you for your support, because this is an amazing process to be able to do, to be able to bring some information to you. If you missed last week's episode, Confidence with Brandy Nicole, do yourself a favor and you go watch it. You can catch it on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, or on our Facebook channel. It was such a good time talking about, just the confidence and knowing that we, have skills, and sometimes we overlook our own selves. We self-sabotage our own selves. And we want to be able to praise ourselves, because we some bad people. We know how to do some things. This fan, it's not letting me brand, but friends, it's a little warm. Okay, there we go. We're going to work that out. Not realizing the amazing capacity that we have to be able to be such a force in this world. So, friends, be sure to check that out if you did miss it. We're going to get right into tonight's episode. It is entitled Grief Speaks. And we have the amazing Yolanda Booker that's going to come on and share some things with us. I'm going to let her come on, and then we'll talk about some things, because, we're going to get into it, okay, friends? So again, you help me welcome the amazing Yolanda Booker for Grief Speaks. Ooh, good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm doing well, and you?
I am good.
That's good. Good to hear. I am so honored to have you on tonight. Over here at Jen Cares, we always start with a quote of the day. And today's quote of the day is, everything that has broken you is teaching you how to rebuild. That's an unknown quote, but again, it says, everything that has broken you is teaching you how to rebuild. What are your thoughts on that quote?
Oh, wow. Just reading it was like, oh, wow. That just really resonated for home, because, of course, we all go through some areas that we've been broken. Mm-hmm. But, once we've been broken, how we get up, how we allow ourselves and God to put us back together on how we can move forward. So I think that quote is right on point for tonight, actually.
Right on point, because sometimes when we have been broken, or we feel like we've been in a space that has broken us, a broken heart, we're talking about grief tonight, so it's not so much of a loss of a person, but sometimes it's a person, place, or thing, and you feel like that could break you.
Yes.
What have been some remedies that have helped you in those moments of being broken to put yourself back together again?
Remedies for being broken. Well, first of all things would be prayer. That would be the top element that helped me in my brokenness. Mm-hmm. Also, I would say just having a support system, people, places, and things that we are able to rely on for support, because it's not always a person. Sometimes it's a place. Sometimes it's a thing. Also counseling, of course, again, having someone to talk to that I don't have to have regard of how I'm feeling. I can just let it all out and be as vulnerable as, my heart will allow me to be. So, I think those are the main elements for me. The
Mhm.
people that as I said, people that we allow in our space, people that we trust, people that can say, girl, get up when you fall down. Because in brokenness, sometimes you down and you don't need people to be like, oh, you don't need them to be crying with you. You need somebody to say, come on, girl, get up. You can do this. So, but again, overall, prayer is the thing that sustains us.
Mhm. I'm not gonna hold you. Sometimes I do want somebody to cry with me for just a second. Just a second.
Yeah, absolutely. But you need
Yeah,
that person that's going to allow you to experience your feelings, but not allow you to get stuck.
that's the part.
That's the
Yeah.
key, not getting
Yeah.
stuck.
Yes, yes, yes. Because it's easy. Because like grief can be overwhelming, but if you can have that moment and then get up and keep on going, we're doing something there. We're doing something there. So Yolanda, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Um, so as you know, my name is Yolanda Booker. I've been married 25 years, 25 plus years. I have three children. One who is deceased, and that's where Grief Speaks was created. However, I have three granddaughters. I am an author of God's Chosen Son, which is a inspirational story about my son who I lost 10 years ago to cancer. And after that, I wrote Grief Speaks, which is a grief journal. It's a prompted journal to help individuals, just sort out your feelings and emotions as a release. And after I wrote the book, um, I started out actually on Facebook doing Facebook Lives called Good Grief Conversations. And it was just conversations I was able to have live with, people who had questions, or we would take a topic. And from Good Grief Conversation, just last year, we launched um, Good Grief. I'm sorry, we launched Grief Speaks, 501c3 nonprofit organization, which now provides biweekly support groups and activities for individuals. My goal is to create a community for people who are grieving. As you said, when we're grieving, we're down. Sometimes we isolate. There's not a lot of programs and things that will speak to or support grief. It's usually family support, or, your church will support. But outside of that, there's not a lot of support. So I wanted to I had my experiences with support groups, and from those experiences, I wanted to birth my own support group with the way that I felt people would really feel supported. So we do run a grief group every other week. Well, actually, the first and the third Thursday at 7 o'clock. And we do in person, we do hybrid. So we do in person and we also do Zoom, so that people all over the world can, tune in. And for some of our people here in Philadelphia, it's not safe to be on the streets at night, things like that. So this way we meet people where they are.
There we go. Very nice. I was muted. My bad. That's really, really good. The interesting part is that you went to some groups, but you found that something that you still needed, maybe not quite getting it, or it wasn't as common for people to go to it. So you started it yourself. How rewarding has that been? And how long have the sessions been going?
It's so we started last October.
Okay.
But we started last October, was like the trial run to January, and then we just really, you know, um, laid out a full calendar for this year. Um, Outside of the support groups, which are an hour to 2 hours, depending on, the need of support. We invite guests to come in because, again, we talk about grief in all areas, not just when you lose someone. So,
Mhm. Mhm.
just last week we had a young lady come and talk about, you know, the grief she feels as a parent, raising a child with autism, and the grief she felt like she experienced from the life she thought her daughter would have. And it
Mhm.
really was a very good grief, I mean, a support group. But we also do activities. So, one of the things for me when I went to support groups is that, yes, I do want to process what we're feeling. It's
Mhm.
important that we process. I am a
Mhm.
therapist, so I understand very well how processing our emotions. However, I feel that we have to be intentional in our healing. And some
Mhm.
of those intentionalities are, we do events. So we did like a paint party. All We did a vision board party, but everything that we do, we planted some plants as a way of planning our grief and growing
Mhm.
with our grief. So we go out and we do seminars. So there's a lot of areas that we tap into, but we're not just sitting around
Mhm.
crying and being sad.
Mhm.
We try to
Mhm.
implement coping skills every support group, because my goal is that people leave our support group, of course, feeling supported, but
Mhm. Mhm.
also being able to support themselves once they leave.
Mhm.
Having a coping skill for when those emotions creep up, they know what to do with them. So
Yeah.
overall, that's what we do.
Yes, I love it. I think the greatest part, one of the greatest parts of what it is that you do is that we talk about the feelings, but then we do an activity, meaning that we have those feelings and then we're engaged in something. Because as soon as we leave a group session, we still have to engage in this thing called life, right? We got to keep pushing forward. So if I'm doing a paint thing, I'm saying, hey, I could feel sad, but I could also have some joy in doing this activity with others. Because grief can knock you off your feet sometimes, expected, unexpected, mostly, when it gets us. So I think that's really,
Yeah,
really cool. Very nice, very nice.
thank
So
you.
you said you lost your son. So sorry to hear that. Um, and that's such a great way to honor him as well, and sharing with others and helping others to process. They say that there's 5 stages of grief. Do you feel like you went through the 5? Do you feel like you're still going through the 5? Did you skip the 5? What was your relationship with the 5 stages of grief?
Oh no, so the 5 stages of grief, for me and probably for all of us, is ongoing. Grief doesn't just go away, right? It can get better. It doesn't go away. But one thing I know about those five is that they come when they want to, they come how they want to. There's no rhyme, there's no reason, there's no order. Although you may read books and stuff and they, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No,
Mm-hmm.
like you might hit three times and you might hit
Yes.
two one time. So it's
Yes.
just really, grief is unique to each person. And so it's really important that people understand that, because often, we compare ourselves to others and we're like, oh, I tell my participants all the time, please don't look at, I'm one of you. Don't look at me like I got it together. God just
Uh-huh.
used me to birth grief speaks to help all of us. I'm one of
Yes.
you. So mostly when we have our, I come as a participant. I come as a
Mm-hmm.
griever. I come
Mm-hmm.
dealing with the 5 stages
Yes.
every single day of my life, right? Because
Yes.
it doesn't just go away. And I said that I was going to write this, just to throw this in here. I'm going to write this one piece one of these days. God's going to allow me to put the stage of insecurity, right? Because grief
Mm.
can bring about some insecurity. Because when we talk grief
Yes.
and loss, we talk change. And when we lose something, no matter if you lose a job, you have to change, right? You have to change job. You have to learn a new way at the new job. If you change
Right. Right.
relationships, you have to learn the new way. When you learn the new way, it really brings about an insecurity that most people don't expect,
Mm.
because they don't know. Let me speak for myself. Losing my youngest son, I became very insecure. I had been married 15 plus years. However, I was a mom. So after that, I was like, what am I supposed to do now? Who am I? the insecurity, the identity crisis, and things like that. And those are the things that we try to talk about. The things that, when you look at the five is pretty obvious, right?
Mm-hmm.
You may be in denial, you may
Yeah.
depressed, but there's so many more stages that
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
we hit that
Yes.
nobody
Nobody's.
talks about your day-to-day process. Nobody
Yes.
talks about how you have an identity crisis and you spend most of your time trying to figure out who you are, and then trying to figure out what other people understand and what they don't. So there's a lot of
Yes.
elements in grief that people don't talk about. And so we do deal with the five stages, but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you have to dig down in the bag and get some of those things that people don't talk about, because those are the
The,
things that we need help with. Because I can read the book, I can read the five stages, but what about
yes.
this feeling I have right now? What do I do with that? What about
Mm-hmm.
that sneaky thing that snuck up on me yesterday while I was washing dishes? What am I supposed to do with that?
Mm-hmm.
Those are the areas that we try to talk about.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely agree. I definitely feel like the five stages, denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance, are a starting ground. But oh, the feelings that
Yes,
come when you
absolutely.
in that thing. It's like, it's none of those. This is just like I can't even put into words what I'm really feeling. Um, and it really takes the takes you really having a conversation with somebody to be able to get out of that rut, because you could get there and one not even realize that you are there. Because like an anniversary could come around, a thought could come around, a smell could come around, um, anything of those things could come around that cause you to think of that loved one. And like you said, some insecurities come. Could I have done something different? What could I have done to like support in the system? And sometimes we get in
Yeah.
that blame game of trying to figure out how to make it work. And it's like, Jennifer, it's nothing that you could have did differently. One, it was in the time and the will of God. Um, and that stinks because we still want to hold on to them. Whatever person, place, or thing, it could be that job, it could be that
Yeah.
mate, it could be whatever it is. But it for sure is a day-to-day process. It's some holidays I'll be like, oh, it's great. It's some other holidays I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to be bothered. And it's like a roller coaster.
Absolutely. Yeah, and sometimes it's just Tuesday.
And just Tuesday.
Sometimes it's just Friday.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like we look for those, oh, the holidays are coming, I know it's going to be sad, this and that. But what about when it's just Thursday and nothing happened, and it was a regular day, and you really just can't pull your emotions together? you
Mm,
know the more people understand that those things happen, the more they're
mm,
able to manage. But when you don't, you're like, what is this?
yes.
you know and that's where despair and all of those things come in.
When it's just a Thursday. My mom, I lost my mom 20 years ago. And it's funny, not funny. It's the everyday process. Sometimes it is funny, sometimes it's not. It's serious. But when the anniversary of her death came, I was like trying to like ignore it in the back of my head. But it doesn't mean that it didn't still sting a little bit. Because I'm like, whoa, 20 years. That was a long time ago. And I'm trying to embrace what 21 looks like. Not rushing it, but in a sense rushing it. But like I was 20 when she passed, so it's been 20 years. So now when I go to 20, I'm like, I've now outlived how many years she's been gone. Or when I did lose her and things that sort. And it's a process that
Yeah,
takes you those emotions. Like you think that you're fine, and you'll just get to crying, or you'll trying to encourage somebody else, and you're like, oh, hey, I got get me together a little bit. And I like how you saying in your groups, I'm a participant
yeah,
too. It starts with me too. I'm
yeah,
helping you, but y'all helping me.
absolutely, absolutely. Because people do want to look at you like you're the lead or what. No, I'm just a griever experiencing it like
Mm-hmm.
you, and we're all in this. My most important message is that we're in this together, because again, grief doesn't go away. And I think that's why I'm so adamant about trying to grow a community, right? So that we can lean on each other, just as our we those who go to substance abuse programs where they have a whole community so that like I lost my mother 22 years ago. So I feel you. So that
Yes.
community of Jen, like, sis, I know where you at. It's
Yes.
so much easier when you feel like somebody really understands and you have a community of people that you
Yes.
can rely on, that you could call me and say, girl, I'm having a bad day. And we can process that. But you can't go to somebody, you may not feel as comfortable with
Yeah. Yeah.
someone who maybe still has their parent, or,
Mm-hmm.
or may, they haven't experienced it like you. Because the one unique thing is that although you lost your mother and I lost mine, we still gonna do this thing different, because I
Right.
lost Jackie and you lost who you lost.
Ada.
So there's
Mm-hmm.
still an element of difference.
Yes. Yeah.
I lost my son. My son was 16 when he passed. And
Mm-hmm.
so, you know, so often people say, oh my God, like he was only 16. He was so young, this, that, and the other, but the perspective, I guess I want to
Mm-hmm.
say, that I chose to take is that
Mm-hmm.
my son's life was written for 16 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
His life
Yeah.
wasn't written to be 50. His life
Mm-hmm.
was written to be 16 years. And from that's where I wrote God's chosen son. And in the back of that book, it says, let my life speak for me. And it's all the people had said about Naquil that I collected through the years. And the
Mm-hmm.
one part about that is that, which helps me, is that in those 16 years, he was amazing. He did
Mm-hmm.
things that people who live to be 50 and 60 never did. And
That's
so for
true.
that, I'm grateful and I'm content. I'm going to show
Yeah.
you. Let me just move that. There he is,
Oh, very nice.
up there on the
Yes.
wall.
Yes. I love it. And
So,
that's it.
so
Go ahead.
that's the area where I was just going to say, I know I mentioned earlier that being intentional. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's where I am intentional about my healing, the way that I look at it, the way I receive it, right? The way that the perspectives I use. Like tonight, I said I lost my son, but usually I use a phrase like, my son was set free from cancer, because that
Mm-hmm.
just feels better. It's still
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
truth, but
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it's part of my healing. Where
Yes.
there's, I had a participant say to me about the painting party, because I said the word party. And she was
Mm-hmm.
like, well, I don't know if I'm ready for a party, and I was like, whatever you're ready for is fine. Maybe party is not a word that you can ingest, but,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to come together. So it just shows how everybody really thinks about it differently.
Got it. Got it. Yeah. I have some friends who have also lost their moms. I call it a club. Um but it's a club that's not accepting any more members. Um but unfortunately,
So I
more
can't
members.
come.
No. If you've already lost your mom, you're part of the club. So we're not accepting more members because it's such a
Okay, cool.
heartbreak
All right.
to lose a mama. It's like, we don't want you to have to go through it, because like you said, you lost Jackie, I lost Ada. It was a different situation, but there's something different depending on the relationship and depending on the person and how it hits you and how it affects you, right? Because as a mom, you're like, oh, I got a boo-boo. Let me call my mom, see what works. I know what the doctor said, but let me see what my mama said. And when you lose that, it puts you in a whole nother groove. So yes, no more members. We're not taking no more members. But again, unfortunately, we live and then we die, right? But I like how you said being able to celebrate the time that you do have. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little bit jealous of the time now, because we have phones where you can record and you can save things. I think I have a couple of VHS that I'm just procrastinating about watching, but being able to hold those memories. And I just feel like it's so great, friends, for you to be able to hold on to the memories that you have with your family members, take pictures. I know you might not like a picture, but you're going to wish that you had a picture, record, take pictures, videos, do things together. excuse me, sometimes put the phone down so that you can really be in that moment. Write each other a letter where, like, this is a letter for you years from here. Hey, Mama Juana, 6 years. See, again, this we don't want nobody in this club, but if you're going to be a part, we're going to band together to help ourselves. Maybe come to a paint party to be able to help ourselves find that balance on that seesaw.
Yes.
How long? And I know the answer. I still ask questions because I want to get dialogue and conversation going. And sometimes just to remind our listeners, because one question that comes up, well, how long is this going to last? How long does this grief last?
As long as you're loving is how long it lasts. Because grief is attached to love. So as long as there's love, there's grief. Again, but I want to provide hope that it gets better, but it doesn't go away. So it does last. A lot of times we hear people say, like, the first year this and the second year that. But the truth of the matter is it lasts as long as there's love, because that's what it's attached to.
Yes.
As long as you're loving someone, you're missing them, you're longing for them, you want to see them, you want to smell them, you want to touch them. So I can't say that there's a time frame. As long as you're alive, it probably will last. We're praying and hoping that it's not as intense and as complicated as it is in the beginning. But for some people, it is. It's sad to say. But there are people who never recover, that never recover from grief. For many reasons, whether it's lack of support, just, not being able to really, living in a place of denial for a really long time, or just the fact that they can't imagine their lives, living their lives to its fullest without the person that they, without the loss.
Yes. And that's a big one. I often talk of that, of everybody doesn't have the capacity to survive what you have survived. And though it seemed easy, people were around, and people are always around when it first happens. But baby, when the casket is closed, when it goes down into the ground, or when that body is, going to its eternal resting place, it gets a little quiet. And you got to really sit with that thing.
Absolutely.
And it stinks sometimes. And like you said, some people could bounce back from it. And I don't even want to say that I have bounced back from it, but I'm learning again how to survive in it. But again, some people are not making it. I saw where a young man, rest his soul, he committed suicide. He had recently lost his father. He did not have the capacity to deal with that. It hurt his heart. He was so close to him. And sometimes we don't cry out, or we don't feel comfortable to be able to cry out, or whatever the reason is, or we're just irritated, agitated because it happened and we thought we would have a little more time. So friends, if you know somebody, please, let's reach out, because it's a process. It's a process. Absolutely. Mama Juana said, why am I tearing them out? Because it hurts. It stinks. And it only takes a second. They say, when I think of the goodness of Jesus and all these stuff for me, be like, oh, but when I think of that loved one, sometimes I can tear up too, because they were dear, like you said, to our hearts. Dear to our hearts. Hey, Mom G, she said, losing your mother is so different. Mine is 27 years. It's so different. So different. Yes, living in denial.
It's very different. Because that's your person, right? For most people who have good relationships, because that's not everybody's story. Yes. But when you have your mom, that's your go-to, right? And so then, I lost my mom 22 years ago, and then I lost my son, and I didn't have my mom to go to, which complicated the grief even more, because my person that understands me best was not here, right? And so again, not only that, but then sometimes, such as my situation, and surely your others, one loss can be the domino effect because it triggers some of your other losses, which
Mm-hmm.
happened with my mom. Like I said, I lost my son, my
Mm-hmm.
child, but I couldn't run to my mom for that hug and for that
Yes. Yes.
reassurance and for that, we're gonna be okay. You know, I was just out there. So I had to run to my father.
Mm-hmm.
I had to run to
Mm-hmm.
my father, Jesus, because
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
honestly, if it had not been, we say that easily, but
Yeah.
if it had
Yeah.
not been for the Lord
Yeah.
who was on my side, I don't know where I would be. And I say that often to my participants once again, because again, people look at you and they think, oh, she got to go on, she got to hold this and that. But listen, at the end of the day,
Yes.
I'm just like you, and I needed somebody that I could call on because I don't know
Mm-hmm.
where I would be. I don't know what I would. I don't even know how I got here because even running a support group and dealing with people, I get calls every day, day in and day out, where people are
Mm-hmm.
losing
Mm-hmm.
loved ones, losing jobs, just losing.
Yes. Losing.
That's It's God, because
Yeah.
that would not be my choice. Jobs, it would
Ah,
not be my choice. You know what
yes.
I'm saying? It would not be my choice. I would much rather just deal with my own fears and sit in a
Yes.
corner somewhere and cry. But God said otherwise, and I'm grateful. I'm so grateful
Yes.
for the
Yes.
strength and the opportunity that He has given me, and the people who have been there for me, throughout all of this time. My pastor, my church, I've been
Mm-hmm.
through, several other situations even now, but I'm grateful to
Mm-hmm.
God for those
Mm-hmm.
who know me and walk with me.
Yes. Yes. I want to go back to that domino effect. I was talking to somebody. We were talking about a funeral that was coming up. It was a little while ago, and they were like, "And such better not come in there and act a fool either." And we've all been to a funeral where somebody takes it a little different, and you may know a backstory where that
Mhm.
person wasn't really engaged with that person, but we still don't know the relationship that that person had, whether engaged, not engaged, or you didn't know, and maybe they were close and things of that sort. But what also happens is it triggers you to remember other situations that you've lost, people, places, and things. I've been to two funerals in the
Right.
last 2 weeks,
Yeah.
and learned of many more funerals that have happened. And for one, it was the young lady's mom. For another, it was a young lady's dad. And I'm sitting there for the mom, and I'm like, "Who?" I remember my mom passed. That was a sore piece. I'm sitting in the one for the dad. I remember when my dad passed. That's a piece. But then also, I still don't have my mom. I still don't have, and again, you go back in that Rolodex and you think they're going off because of the person, which is some, but they're also trying to manage the domino effect that unexpectedly overtook them. And they like, I'm trying to be grieving for this situation, but I still got this other stuff that I've been through that I'm also grieving with. And that
Yeah.
domino effect is tricky.
Yeah,
It's
it's really
tricky.
hard. It's tricky, and I think sometimes it's hard for people on the outside looking in, for if you will. People will say things like you said, don't come acting a fool. But one thing about grief is we all do it differently, and we have to
Mm-hmm.
allow people to do it their way.
Mm-hmm.
There's no set way to do it.
Right.
And
Right.
and sometimes we just have to grant that grace, right? Because when we talk about the triggers, not only has this triggered me and I'm trying to be there for you, but I'm also fighting because I'm trying to be there for you, but I'm trying not to make this about me.
Whew, come on. Come
But it's
on.
but it's still right here.
Yeah.
But it's still right here in my throat.
Yeah.
I'm trying to coach you through it, but I got the lump in my own throat.
Mm.
And you have to be so careful because when we in our feelings, it's like, look, this is the way I feel, with all of that. But we
Uh-huh.
can't make it about us. We trying not to make it about us, but it's setting off triggers all over the place.
Ping, ping, ping. It's like
So
fireworks going
that's
on
when we
July 4th.
learn, right. But the thing we learn is, one thing that, like I said, I'm a therapist. So with some of my clients is to make sure that we learn healthy boundaries. I teach
Mm-hmm.
healthy boundaries in Grief Speaks. Those boundaries of being able to say, I'm not okay today. And I know we say
Mm-hmm.
it lightly, it's okay not to be okay. But I also teach them things like, I don't want to be strong. So don't expect me to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, don't expect me to be who you're looking for me to be. I don't know who I am
Mm-hmm.
today. So listen, just rock with me because I'm not sure. You know, learning those healthy boundaries, being able
Yes.
to say, Jen, listen, can we not talk about, Jen,
Yeah.
listen, can we not talk about this today because it's really triggering me? Often we don't say those things. We feel those things, but we don't say it. And then we walk away like, "Can you believe she said that to me? I make because
Yep.
you triggered now." So you're like, well,
Yep.
I can't believe. But the thing about it is, it's okay to say it with kindness.
Mm-hmm.
Jen,
Mm-hmm.
my
Mm-hmm.
heart can't take it today, honey. Can we talk
Yes.
about it another day? Those are
Yes. Yes.
boundaries that we need in order to sustain ourselves, to keep ourselves safe and other people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We have to. And friends, if we don't cry out to say we need a moment, we're going to explode. We just talked about that ping, ping, ping. There was fireworks going off. You're going to go off on them. And they can be like, well, wait a minute. All I said was hi. You said more than hi. I told you I couldn't talk about it. It was a little overwhelming. I asked you to give me some space and you didn't. And now you're seeing why I needed the space because I'm going off because it's just a little bit too much today. Like you said, just rock with me. Just be there with me. Help me process through as I'm trying to
Yeah,
help you
a lot of
process through.
uh, yes, yeah. A lot of relationships are ruined through the grieving process just
Mm-hmm.
because we don't know how to articulate what we're
Mm-hmm.
feeling. So what we do, me included, what we do is we avoid the person or not realizing that we don't even know what's happening. And
Mm-hmm.
so we avoid. And so, a lot of times, how people say, you isolate, you don't let nobody in, you don't talk, this and that. But sometimes you don't even realize.
Mm-hmm.
I put something up the other day. It was long, but it pretty much said, don't ask people what they need when they're grieving. If you're going to buy them groceries, buy them. If you're going to come over and clean, clean. Because a lot of times when you're in the grieving process, you don't know what you need. All you need is to feel better. Now, how you get there, you don't know.
Yes.
And a lot of times people are looking for these answers. What can I do for you? How can I do it? What do you
Mm-hmm.
need me to do? And it's like, I don't know. And then when you say, I don't know, people look at you like, what you mean you don't know? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you don't want
Mm-hmm.
my help. And some people get offended. But it's really the truth. You really just don't know. You're really, as you said earlier, Jen, are in survival mode and you
Yes.
moving from moment to moment. And that's
Come
what I
on.
tell my participants. The only thing you're required to do is breathe. That's
Yeah.
all. From
Yeah.
moment to moment, because you don't know what the other next moment is going to give you. So sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
listen, sometimes breathing is just too hard. So let me breathe. Just let me, if I got this breathing thing together, then just let me breathe. Don't
Friends,
expect all
sometimes
of these things
breathing.
from me,
Whew.
So,
Because you don't have the capacity. The
yeah.
another part was of being comfortable and able to reach out to others and really tell them what's going on for you. Um, when my mom passed, I was in the middle of school. I had just finished 2 years and was going back to go into my third year. Literally, July 26th, she passed. August 2nd or 3rd, I think, whatever that Saturday was for the services. And then I was back to school by the end of the month. And it was interesting of how to get right back into the swing of things and keep on going in this thing called life and trying to still be present and be the Jen that they knew, but the Jen had matured a little bit over the break. The Jen had to now put on her big girl pants to figure out how to survive without that source. And though I'm not an only child, if I'm honest, I felt like an only child and sometimes still do. Why? Because my siblings were
Absolutely.
grown. They were grown when I was born. So they were already grown. So now they have children. They're married. They have somebody else to go and talk to. I'm now back on the campus and have nobody feel like, because people don't understand what it is that you're going through. It's like, I know her mom died, but she got to act like that, or whatever, they can think to say and things of that sort, because it's a place of miseducation, uneducation. They haven't experienced it yet to know how to survive it, right? And that's a struggle too, again, finding out who I am now that I've endured this, now that I went through this, now that this has happened to me, because I've been able to support you when it wasn't me. But now that I done joined this club that I didn't ask to be a part of, how can I find my groove when I still don't want to be a part of it? I think Camille said it best, because you're irritated, agitated, and sometimes angry about it. Because like, God, I felt like Mr. Clean. He was like, you took my good members. I got some other ones you could have taken and things of that sort. But I got to accept what God allowed and know that what he did was what he saw fit to do. And I don't know who else needs to go with me. So I don't want nobody to go unless they're ready, because I want to be able to see you on the gold streets, okay? But I'm like, why they take her? And in those moments, you feel those things. It is normal. But we don't want you to stay there. So that's why we want to talk about why it's important to also talk about grief. Because it does speak. It does have a voice. And when we are quiet about it, when we're trying to handle it on our own, sometimes we can't, and then it overwhelms us. And they're like, well, why is she irritated, agitated? Because she is still going through about losing Sue. She is still going through about losing Bob. She is still going through about losing that job. She is still going through about losing that house where she put blood, sweat, and tears into that house, but the landlord came and kept on upping the rent where they sold the house and they had to move out. It's a process that people got to go through, and sometimes we don't give each other grace, but we want it.
I was getting ready to say, grace is it. Because again, all of those things that you've mentioned. But how about when you lose the person that's sitting right next to you? That person is not the person they once were. What about that person who has lost their physical abilities? That husband, that wife.
Yes.
Wait a minute. What about, those who are taking care of their loved ones who have dementia that don't even recognize who they are? Like, we have to give each other grace, because again, none of us know what people go through when they shut the door. But it's the grace that we need, and understanding that, I lost my son, and I wouldn't be who I am today without what I went through for him. But one thing that I've given myself permission for is that I'll never be the Yolanda I once was. Don't look for her, because she's just she's a little different, because a whole part of me is gone. And I had to give myself permission for that.
Come on.
Don't expect me. Just, again, at the end of the day, just roll with me, because half of what I'm rolling through, I don't even recognize. I don't recognize. So if I don't recognize, I can't tell you.
Come on. And that's it. You trying to help them, but you can't help your own self sometimes.
You're just looking at this like I'm just doing it. I'm just doing it. I'm doing it. That's all. I'm working through it. I'm trying. Those things. And those statements are really true. When people tell you, listen, I'm trying.
So we do tough talks over here. So when they're trying, some of us really are trying, some of us aren't. So the line of when you are really trying and when you're not trying, because I also don't want us to settle for less when we're not really trying. Okay, friends? God bless. Yes. But it's like also too with your drivers. If you're a driver, this is not the greatest example. However, it does happen. And if you're a driver, please don't leave me out here on my own. Okay. You ever been driving somewhere and you didn't even realize you was driving, but you got to where you was going? You was riding.
Yes. Absolutely.
You knew where you was going. You knew where you was supposed to be going, but it was like a moment where you didn't realize it because it came as a norm and things of that sort. And sometimes that's how it is too. You're like, oh, Lord Jesus, God, I thank you for getting me there safely. Because I don't even know how this happened. And that's how it is in life too, where sometimes some things come as, it's like a norm thing that we do, but we got to be able to pay attention and be aware of what's going on, because that could cause accidents too sometimes. So we have to be able to slow ourselves down in that process of, what it is that we're going through, where it is that we're trying to get to, talk to somebody, get some help from somebody to be able to find our balance.
Yes, you're in the spirit, because that's one of the analogies I use all the time is driving. And I always say to people, listen, put that thing in and drive, and whatever you do in grief, don't park. Don't park.
Come on.
Sometimes in grief, you have to put yourself in neutral, and you just got to rock with it until you're able to put it in drive again. But don't park, because when you park, you get stuck. You might not ever be able to put, so keep going. Just try to keep, even though like I said, you got to be, you know how you put that car in neutral sometime and it just kind of hangs out there, but it's still started and it's still in gear, but it ain't going nowhere quite yet until you put your foot on the gas or the brake, right? So, and it's so, I just wanted to bring, because that's funny, because you talked about driving, and that's something I talk about all the time. Just keep driving. Don't park and get stuck. Just hang out in neutral if you need to. In other words, take the time you need, but keep moving, even if it's slowly.
Friends, and we know that to be true, that if we don't use something, we lose it. If you keep your arm down, after a while, when you try to lift it up, you're like, oh, I can't even move it. You got to keep moving it. Because if not, it does become null. It does become inoperable, and we don't want that to happen. You let a car sit too long and you don't start it, you're going to have some problems, okay? And if you need some help, again, that's why we reach out to somebody. Because if you do put the car in park, how to get back on the road, we got to go to a mechanic, because that's the professional that helps us with the car, right? But if it's something that's dealing with our mental, something that's dealing with our feelings and emotions, we got to be able to call a therapist, call a professional. And with that, just giving it a chance. Our jobs, I'm always going to get on this box, friends, please know. EAP, Employee Assistance Program, most underutilized service ever. So your insurance will pay for it. And friends, I know some people, I do it as well. We don't always take insurance where you have to pay out of pocket. And sometimes you got to invest in yourself. So you got to put those coins together so that you can go and talk to that person. The process through what's going on, because then it goes to how bad do you want it? How bad do you want to get out of this rut? How tired are you of not being able to go forward? Reach out and get somebody's help.
Absolutely. I just want to make this point. I always say, if you stomp your toe or you twist your ankle, you run to the doctor, right? You don't, when you're in pain, you run to the doctor, whether it's the doctor's office or the ER, and you pay those copays. And you pay those copays to get out of pain.
Yes.
Well, guess what? Your mental status is the same way. If you're in pain and you need support, sometimes you just gotta go to the doctor and pay those copays. But so often we don't have money for that. But we make the money for it when the pain is unbearable. Go see about yourself before it becomes unbearable and you have to go. Make the decision to go. Again, I'm a therapist. Listen, and I have a therapist because I have those things that I need to work through.
Friends, they say a leaky ceiling not attended to becomes a bigger problem. So if I keep on ignoring that leak in the ceiling, it's going to become a bigger problem. And I'm talking to myself because sometimes having a house and being a homeowner, you get these things, okay? But you got to be able to address it, because if you don't address it, it's going to ball out of control. I had to get some work done, and they was patching one hole. There was a leak, and it was like, oh, it's also right here. I said, all right, go ahead and do that. Or then it was like, oh, well, we made an executive decision. I said, y'all don't make no executive decision without me because I got to pay. But I still had to do what had to be done to get it fixed. So whatever I had to do to cut a corner to save in whatever aspect I had to do. And friends, we got to do that because life is happening. But we got to be able to tend to the cracks before it seeps and the ship goes down. Don't let your ship go down, friends. Put a socket in that hole. A secure plug in that hole. some affirmations to be able to help you. Yes, I am sad with the loss of that loved one, but this too shall pass. You know, I remember the great memories that we had with them. Yes, I'm sad for losing that job, but God actually opened up another door for a better job. So God, I thank you. I'm going to plug that hole because I was sad about that one, but I'm grateful that you opened up this other one. God, I'm sad that whatever that thing was, it didn't work out, but I'm going to plug it because I don't want my ship to sink. I don't want to go under. I don't want to go under because I need us both to keep on moving.
Yes.
This is so good. One of the things you said of not asking somebody when they're going through is what they need. Because in that moment, they're, again, just trying to survive. What are some other things people shouldn't ask when you're grieving, you think?
Well, a lot of times the first thing people usually ask is, what happened? What's going on?
Mm-hmm.
And and right, because people want to know, right? Whether they're concerned or not, they want to know. But, sometimes people, because of the love people have for you, sometimes we come running to the person's rescue as soon as something happens. And it doesn't give the person a chance to really process what just happened. You ever get a call, and I mean literally the person just passed away minutes ago, and here comes the swarm of people. And don't get me wrong, it's because the people love you and want to support you. But it's like, babe, I haven't even wrapped my mind around what just happened. Give me a second before I gotta tell the story. Give me a moment. And then also just taking people at their word. Like, when people say, I need a moment, giving them that moment. Don't let them go. Don't forget about them, but allowing them to have that which they need. Because a lot of people can try to tell you what you need. Oh, girl, you don't need to be in there by yourself. Oh, child, you need to be, and it's like, you don't know what I need because I don't know what I need. But right now, sometimes we just need that time to process. Allow people time to process, and also allowing yourself to give that person the space that they need, even if they may not ever be that person they once were. I think communication is key. Just talking to a person, checking in on them. And when when you feel like they've come to a place of understanding, being able to voice your opinion on what you're feeling. Because again, when you're in survival mode, please don't expect me to be please don't expect me to be perfect. Please don't expect me to have all the answers. Please just know that I'm not sure. So just give me some grace.
Give me some grace.
Give me some grace.
Mama, why you hit it? You done repeated your story 20 times. The 21st person has now walked up and wants to hear. I'm like, John, come tell them the story. I don't have it in me again. Because then you're repeating it, you're going through it, is reading. And then I got more questions on top of the questions because they became a detective. It could be overwhelming. So friends, allow those that are grieving to speak at their pace, to share at their pace. And sometimes it's personal that they don't want to tell anybody. Respect that too. Respect that too. Respect that too, because it's a process.
Yeah, you do. But stay with them, please. Just don't leave them. Even when you don't understand. Even when you don't understand, just kind of hang out in the balance, because it will be a time that they need you. Just be close. You don't have to be there, but be close. Because so often people, because they don't understand where you are, they leave you. They leave you because they don't understand, and they take you for who you once were, and now they don't understand you, and they just like, oh, well, she don't call me or whatever the situation, and they just leave you. Which only, can I say it, it only complicates the grief more because it turns into more loss.
Yep.
Because now I've lost my loved one, but now I lost my friend just because I can't articulate what I'm feeling.
All good stuff. All good stuff. I have a friend, she's going through a health thing right now, and I went to see her at the hospital, and she was come overwhelmed and, frustrated and talking things. I say, you ain't got to say nothing. I'm here. I love you. You good. Actually, let me tell you some stories. So then I'm telling her stuff to lift up her mood and to cause her to laugh. Those are the things we want to do in those times when they're already frustrated, irritated, agitated. How can we cheer them up? How can we bring them cheer? If we are empathetic, to think of, if I was in this position, what support would I need? So you don't leave. You support them in the little ways, because if they're your friend, you know what it is that brings them joy. Hopefully you know what it is that brings them joy. You know how you can be present. And again, the ministry of presence, just being there. And friends, also learn the ministry of silence. We don't have to ask questions all the time. Friends, just let the people go through some of the stuff they're going through. Some stuff we will share, some stuff you will share. And if you're honest, some stuff you don't share either. Amen. So again, that grace comes. Be present and show grace.
Amen.
Because you understand, they say do unto others as you had them do unto you. Golden rule. We got to apply that more, friends. Sometimes I do it good and sometimes I do it bad too. I'm human. But you're trying to be able to support. And once you realize when we read the room, we find, all right, let me pull back. This is a little too much. How can I now support you? So yes. Yes, Mama Juana. I'm that person that calls 2 weeks later. Absolutely. Because when it quiets down, it really gets quiet. Because you're so used to everybody coming over. Everybody's coming in and out, in and out, in and out. So you're surviving, having this wealth of support. And then 2 weeks in, 3 weeks in, where's all the people that said they was going to be around? My ride or die.
It's crickets.
Crickets. So friends, if you know that somebody lost somebody, reach out. And again, we all could do good with that. She said, I lost my granddaughter 2 months ago, 9 years old. She was sick. I thank God for prayer lines and God in my life. So sorry to hear that. But yes, thank God for prayer lines and having God in your life. I tell you, when my mom passed, I knew for sure that I knew Jesus. Because I knew for sure I would be in a white jacket with my arms like this because I wouldn't have been able to make it losing her. But God is a keeping God, okay? He kept me. And prayer definitely does work. So yes, friends, connect with somebody. If you can't, pray, you reach out to somebody else. But let me also sit here for a second. Because though I could connect with somebody else to pray, I got to also be able to pray for myself too. And it's not even that deep. It's just like, God, I need your help. Yeah. And I promise he will come through. Promise. Yeah. I'm a witness.
Yes.
Let me see. So we talked about, the different stages of grief that is ongoing, friends. It is unfortunately never ending. But what are some things that can help us be uplifted in moments of grief so that we can be encouraged? If we can't make it to the paint party, what are some things we can do on our own time, Yolanda, to help us get through those moments?
Well, one of the top things I always say, as you were saying, grab hold of those memories, right? Mm-hmm. Those memories that you have. One of my strategies is I always tell somebody when they're tell me the funniest thing that you remember about the person that you lost. And it usually brings about a whole conversation and then a whole giggle, right? Also, just honoring that person, right? Mm-hmm. In any way that you see, it could be serving others. It could be honoring them in your own way. Mm-hmm. It could be something as simple as eating their favorite food, watching their favorite show, wearing their favorite shirt, mm-hmm. But the ultimate goal is for you to do something that makes you feel better, that's not self-destructing, right? Mm-hmm. So whatever that thing is, like I also have a foundation. So for my son, and we always would give and donate and things like that. So I gave out scholarships for students
Mm-hmm.
that didn't have good GPA because I knew it took tenacity to get
Mm-hmm.
to college. And so I felt like it was the same tenacity my son used to fight cancer. So find your cause. Pray for your cause. Like, we all have a purpose. And you
Yeah.
know what's a lot sometimes that purpose is birthed through our pain. So
Mm-hmm.
find the thing that makes you feel good. I want to
Yes.
say to Miss Coulter, my condolences to any and everybody on here
Yeah.
who has lost a loved one, just as experienced loss in
Yeah.
general. But sometimes you have that one thing, that one toy that maybe your granddaughter played with all the time, or her sweater, or whatever makes you feel good. And here's the
Mm-hmm.
here's the caveat to that. Everybody else don't have to understand. It doesn't have to make sense to them,
Yes.
as long as it makes sense to you.
Yes.
I laugh all the time. I eat macaroni and cheese. Every time I eat macaroni and cheese, I think about my son. You
Yes.
know, I serve others, serving others, I think about my son. Grief Speaks, we're actually in honoring my son, my board. We're going to try to feed the Ronald McDonald House for
Very.
Thanksgiving.
Very.
But that's where our hearts are, but
Mm-hmm.
fine.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes people like, I just want to stay right here. And if that
Yeah.
makes you feel okay, as long as you're caring for yourself well,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and you're being accountable to yourself with
Yeah.
self-care, or you're saying to your friend, like, listen, don't let me slip. Listen, I don't want to, do anything that's be harmful. It is the key is for you to
Yeah.
find happiness in the center of your
Yeah.
pain, because it's
Yeah.
there. But
It is.
sometimes, this is what I say, sometimes you have to look for it, right? Sometimes you have to pull it up and pull it over and look
Yeah.
underneath till you find it.
Mm.
But as you're looking for it, pray, and God usually delivers and you find it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love it. Yes. When I put on my lip gloss, I smile thinking about my granddaughter
Yes,
putting lip gloss. Absolutely. When I put a red lip, that was my mom's signature. I'd be like, "Yup, I'm channeling
yes.
Eva today." Big boss move. So
That's
again, your mac and cheese. Whatever it is that brings us those good memories, do more of those things. All right. Oh, this was
yeah.
good. What's something that you want us to walk away with, Yolanda?
What I would like for each person to walk away with tonight is that everybody don't have to understand, and that your grief journey is yours. Whatever it looks like, it's yours. And give yourself permission to walk the journey. Grab you some ride or dies and walk the journey, because we spend so much time wishing and hoping and praying that people understood, that people knew what I was doing and thinking, and how come and why. Just listen, this is your journey. I want to say to each of you, honor your loved ones that you've lost, honor that loss in whatever way you see fit,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what keeps their legacy alive.
Yes. Yes. Mm. Friends, I hope you enjoyed tonight. And I know that for some of us, it may have been a little challenging because we're still living this thing, right? Um, but I hope you also found the benefit of being able to speak about it. So find somebody to be able to share your stories with. Sometimes, sharing a funny story may brighten up your day and thinking of your loved one, that child, that granddaughter, that aunt, that uncle, that cousin, that mother, that father, that grandparent. So be sure to reflect on your highlight memories, because even though they are, gone, they are no longer in pain. They are free, free, free. Uh, Hopefully, where we'll see them again one day. So, friends, please, please, please do grab hold of all the memories of your loved ones, and be sure to speak to somebody or plan to attend a grief session. Yolanda shared that she has some hybrid where you can be in person or virtual. So please, 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 please do be sure to connect with her.
Yes,
Grief Speaks
you can.
on some amazing things.
Grief speak. Grief Speaks is free. Just to answer Ms. Culture, Grief Speaks
Okay.
is free. Most things are very free. We do a couple fundraisers. However, our we provide um, a light snack and beverage if you come in person, but
Mhm.
everything is free. We meet the first and the third Thursday at 7 o'clock. Um,
Mhm.
if you're interested, our website is www.griefspeaks the number one.com. Grief speaks the number one.com. If you go to contact us and send us your information, which is your email address, your name, we will be sure to send you the link. And we do not publicize the link just for confidentiality purposes. So you would need to send your email address and we will put you on the list. And listen, I just want to make it known that when you come to Grief Speaks, we're family. You don't have to turn your camera on. You don't have to say anything. Just being in the room. Sometimes people just need to listen. Sometimes people just need to know that other people understand. So there's no pressure. There's no, oh, can you share your story? Whatever you want to do, we're here for it. Again, we usually try to take a topic just so that we can keep the group moving. We provide time for safe space, and guess what? If it take all night, it's all right. But
Yeah.
we take a topic, and I usually try to teach a coping skill, so that people can sustain themselves when nobody's around. Because we all know that this thing sneaks up when ain't nobody present, when you can't call, when it's 3 in the morning and you can't call nobody. So it's important to me as a therapist and as a griever and with my nonprofit. You mentioned it earlier, Jen, that some of this is because we lack the education of
Mhm.
what grief is. So I
Mhm.
try to educate. Our goal is to educate, to support, to provide resources, but then to take a coping skill, something that you can do to sustain yourself at least until you can get to help, at least until you can get to somebody,
Mhm.
whether it's crisis, a friend, a family member. But it's important that we have all that we need. So
Yeah.
we build our toolbox to be able to sustain.
Very nice. Again, I thank you so much for joining us, friends. Be sure to check her out at griefspeaks1.com. Some great sessions if you need some support. Again, friends, can't say that you didn't know about it. You just got to connect with it. And sometimes we got to do our part. Um, at least try it out. See if it works for you. If it doesn't, you did try. But don't give up on yourself and don't park the car. Again, I thank you so much for joining us tonight, Yolanda. I hope that you have a great, great evening.
Thank you so much for having me. It has been my pleasure. Again, I'm praying for each person here under the sound of our voices. I'm praying for you, Jen, and hopefully this won't be the last time.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm always connecting somebody with somebody else. I'm just a conduit to connect somebody with other resources. So I'm always gonna have you in my
Yeah.
Rolodex. I'm like, you know what?
Well, we're
Yolanda,
we're looking to do a grief walk in October. We're trying to finalize some things so we can
okay.
all once again come together as a unit, as a family. So we'll
Yes,
keep you posted. I am
please do.
also on Facebook and Facebook, Yolanda Grief Speaks, and Instagram is Grief Speaks One. So
Gotcha.
we're all over. So hopefully I will see some of your faces in the place.
Yes, yes. Do please keep us posted. And again, I hope you have a great, great evening.
Thank you, and you as well. Have
Thank
a
you.
wonderful evening,
Yes,
everyone.
yes. Oh, friends, that was really great. I do hope that you enjoyed Grief Speaks with Yolanda Booker of Grief Speaks. So, such a good conversation. And I get again that it can be overwhelming. I wanted to just hit one more comment. Mama Wanda said, hold on, here we go, here we go. She was sharing how if they are still here, make memories. Let me tell y'all a little quick story. Um, I was not. My dad wasn't a part of my life growing up, right? And then when I became an adult, it was now time for me to, try to reach out to form a relationship with him. And I'm so, so grateful that God allowed me the time to be able to get to know him and to form some memories so that when he transitioned, I knew that I was in a good place with him. We were in a good place together. So friends, if there is a loved one, you can just say, hey, I love you. I'm thinking of you, whatever connection you can do. Um, try to reach out if you can, because that grief, that loss, that disconnect of that friendship, that relationship can hit you hard. But if you do have to, and if you're on the other side where you do have that relationship with that loved one, please, please, please do make memories. Yes, yes, yes. Good information. Thank you again so much for joining us. I appreciate it. Hey, Camille, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Why you look like a boss? Mama, why not no boss? I might, today was a good day. Today was a good day. God is amazing. Good night, everyone. I do thank you all so much for joining us. Don't forget our quote of the day. Dun, 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 dun. Everything that has broken you is teaching you how to rebuild. That is unknown, but it says everything that has broken you is teaching you how to rebuild. So friends, though it thought it counted you out, if we put those pieces back together, we learn how to rebuild and put our pieces back together. When we lose a loved one, a person, place, or thing, whatever it is that we lost, it feels like it has broken us. But as we keep on, and keep on trying to reach out to get some support, we rebuild ourselves to be that which we were still called and chosen to be. Be sure to join us on next week as we will have Andrea Blasingame for Beyond the Beat. I am excited for that. So again, join us next Monday as we will have Beyond the Beat with Andrea Blasingame. If you would like to be a guest on Jen Cares, be sure to email me at info@chozencounselors.com. I would love to chit chat with you. I mean, I tell my business and you could just, help me figure out my business, okay? But again, if you want to be a guest, do be sure to email me at info@chozencounselors.com. I do love and appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in, for liking and coming back again. I hope that something that was shared tonight encouraged and inspires you to keep on going in this thing called life. If you need some support, reach out. Somebody will be on the other side to help you through. I love you all for real. Until next time, good night.
Friends, we thank you for joining Jen Cares this week. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Unable to watch us live? Be sure to find us on your favorite podcast platform. You can also visit our website, chozencounselors.com. That's Chozen with a Z, to stay in the know and most of all, never miss a show. If you found value in this show, we'd appreciate you sharing it with a friend. Most of all, be sure to tune in for our next episode as we specialize in bringing the community to you.